date is Tuesday, October 10th, 2017. Subject identifies as David Summers. Hello, Mr. Summers. I trust you're healing up all right?
Yeah, the doctor said I can get out soon. Hey, I already gave my statement to the police. Is that thing recording?
Mr. Summers, can you fill me in again on the events of last week and of your place of employment?
Why are you guys asking me again? Am I in trouble?
As much detail as you can remember, Mr. Summers. Please.
Well, like I said before, a couple of years ago when I was going through college, I started working at a small family-owned brewing company here in San Diego, Poltergeist Brewing Company. And we make some of the best beer around, but I think we may have to permanently shut down now. Not because of your usual financial issues, but for a reason that will probably always sound like a made-up story. I guess I'll start from the beginning. So back in April 2015, Poltergeist Brewing Company just opened its doors. The family who owned it had hired me and 2 others as the first employees. However, the building that we worked in, I guess you could say a spirit also worked there.
So you're saying the building was haunted?
Not haunted in the usual way. As opposed to your typical ghost story, we actually peacefully coexisted with this spirit. And I can make 1,000 different jokes, but in the end it was just an awesome coincidence that a brewing company named Poltergeist happened to be haunted by an actual poltergeist. I guess it just made the business more authentic.
And you're certain that it was a poltergeist?
Oh yeah. We first discovered him about a week after the company started up. Bottles fell off shelves, claw marks on walls, faint apparitions in our security camera footage, the usual stuff. My coworker Jamie previously worked as a psychic medium, and one day she decided to try to communicate with the spirit in an attempt to learn why it was in the building. At the time, I thought it was all made up. I was always quite skeptical about paranormal subjects, and to be honest, I always just thought Jamie was some crazy con artist. And unfortunately, she proved me wrong.
And this Jamie, are you referring to a Miss Watson?
Yes, Jamie Watson. She talked to the spirit just enough to learn that he was a frequent customer at the business that owned the building before Poltergeist. From the way she made it sound, he was harmless. He just really loved the brewery scene before he died in a car accident. I guess he was dumped by his wife and went through a really rough divorce, then drank himself stupid and tried to drive home, ending with his car wrapped around a telephone pole.
That is a lot of information to gather from one amateur medium session.
I know it sounds insane, but it's true, and we genuinely felt bad for him. We decided to leave him be and treat him as if he were still a consistent customer there. He stopped breaking bottles and causing havoc, and instead messed with us by constantly changing the music over the speaker. He would change it from our music to songs like The Monster Mash and Michael Jackson's Thriller, and I have to admit it was hilarious. Somehow having a ghost pranking us while at work was incredibly fun. We even pranked him back one time by putting life-size cardboard cutouts of the Ghostbusters in the back of the brewery. Apparently he loved that so much that he grabbed one of the cutouts and started flying around with it in the production area.
Wait, you didn't actually play with it, did you?
Not really. I didn't see it myself, but Jamie told me about the Ghostbuster thing and showed me the security camera footage after. We were all having so much fun, honestly. Eventually, we realized we never learned his name, so we took the liberty of naming him POLLY, a play on the first few letters of the brewery's name, Poltergeist.
Ah, how clever.
Right? Anyways, for the following 10 months, we were cool with POLLY. We would get to work, greet him, and he would usually knock on something to say hi back. Everything was great until one day we hired a new employee named Ariel.
Miss Blake.
Yep. She was a pretty small 22-year-old girl who went to the same college I did. But she was hoping to get her degree in digital photography. We didn't tell her right away about POLLY, knowing that she would assume we're all clinically insane, but also partially because we thought it would be funny.
Funny?
It was our way of messing with the new girl as a means of initiation to Poltergeist.
Really? And what happened when she did meet it?
So her first week, she experienced multiple occurrences of paranormal activity, scaring the hell out of her every single time. We think POLLY was trying to mess with her, same as a regular customer would do to a new employee at any bar. We all saw what was happening and couldn't help but hold back our laughs. But to Ariel, we chose to be ignorant. We pretended we had no idea what was going on. And as funny as it was to us, she was terrified. After her second week, she couldn't handle it anymore, but she loved the job so much that she refused to quit. Instead, she chose to take matters into her own hands. As she was working late one Thursday night, she chose to go behind our backs and call a team of local paranormal investigators that she had connections with, and had them come to the brewing company and try to get rid of the spirit.
That explains the others. Thank you.
Others? What do you mean, others?
Yes, we've been having a hard time identifying them. Do you have any other more specific information that might help?
Apparently, her roommate's boyfriend was an investigator himself, and after hearing Ariel talk about her experiences at work with Polly, the investigator had already been begging her to let him and his friends come try to document Polly.
And were you close enough to Miss Blake to know her address?
Yeah, I know it.
If you could, please, write that down here, and give me just a moment to flip the tape. And back on, as you were, Mr. Summers.
Anyway, they showed up that same evening, set up their equipment and cameras. They spent the entire night trying to collect evidence of Polly's existence. The crazy part was, after the entire night of ghost hunting, they didn't capture a single scrap of evidence. Polly knew what they were doing, and he avoided them.
Looks like this one was smarter than you guys gave it credit for. There's a spectrum to these things, but regardless, I still expect that this angered it.
Yes, it bothered him immensely. And after happily coexisting with him for nearly 2 years, someone new came in trying to get rid of him.
And that's when the incident occurred?
Well, everything seemed normal at first. Polly was much less active than usual, like he was hardly even there. But we thought nothing of it. Jamie and I worked our normal shift. He changed our music once just before the night shift showed up. That was the extent of his activity that day.
And what time was your shift?
Like noon to 7 p.m. He changed the music around 5:45.
Notes for the record. Approximately 6 unaccounted for hours. Check if the TOD matches the time frame.
What do you mean, TOD?
What happened that evening, Mr. Summers?
Wait, hold on. Are you going to answer any of my questions?
That evening's events, Mr. Summers?
Fine, but you're going to answer me before you leave. When the evening shift arrived at 6 that night, we saw Ariel out front. We waved at her through the front window as she parked her car. She opened the door, but less than a second after she walked in, an unopened can of beer flew violently past her. It avoided the left side of her face by less than an inch and exploded on the wall behind her. That sound was so loud it shook the windows. She panicked and fell to the floor before we even knew what happened. I was frozen stiff behind the bar, and Jamie went to go make sure she was okay. We've never seen a violent motion like that come from Polly. Not even when the business first opened. I could see it in her eyes, though. For a moment, she thought I threw that can. It left a dent in the hardwood door frame behind her, and I'm definitely no superstar pitcher. It was a crazy hard throw. So Polly was dangerously upset with her, but we had no idea why.
So at the time you were still unaware of the amateur paranormal investigation that had taken place the night before?
It wasn't until later that evening, when we searched the security camera footage and learned that Ariel invited the investigators there. Then it all made sense. We were forced to finally tell Ariel about Polly. She was horrified that a spirit just tried to kill her, but at least I was off the hook. And although we didn't entirely believe the statement ourselves, we promised her there was nothing to worry about. That night, Jamie once again tried to use her experience as a medium to communicate with Polly. But this time it went entirely different. He refused to be reasonable and only displayed anger during the session. She got no words or useful information out of him. Just tools and beer cans being aggressively thrown across the room. So Jamie gave up. And while having a quick smoke break outside, she whispered to me that even now she was scared of Polly.
So she was able to establish a connection with an angry poltergeist. That's a shame. She could have made for a strong medium. What happened this time? Were there any other events that you witnessed that night?
No, that was it. At 7 p.m., mine and Jamie's shift had ended, so we packed up our stuff and got ready to leave. We told Ariel to keep us informed and let us know if she needed help with anything that night. We knew it was a bad idea, but we left her alone to work her night shift, and we headed home. We never received a call from her that night, so we thought we could sleep peacefully knowing everything was fine. The following morning, I got back to work at Poltergeist to work my opening shift. I parked my car and walked to the front door, but as I walked up, I grabbed the handle and noticed it was already unlocked. I just assumed that Ariel forgot to lock the door the previous night, but when I stepped inside...
One can assume that that's when you found Miss Blake.
Yeah. Ariel's body was laying motionless on the floor behind the bar. Nothing but a bloody pile of gore and brain matter where her head used to be. I was mortified. I'd never expected to walk in on a scene like that. There was a deep dent in the wall behind her, and glass shards covering the floor.
This POLLY had thrown a glass bottle at Miss Blake, but this time he didn't miss.
Exactly. And this bottle also appeared to be thrown with unimaginable force. He threw it so hard that when it hit her, it practically disintegrated her skull on impact. Her clothing and everything within a 20-foot radius of her body was decorated with her blood. My heart was about to beat out of my chest, and I was terrified. I pulled my phone out of my pocket to dial 911, but before I could even finish dialing, I heard the sound of a glass bottle wobble on the shelf across the room. As I looked up, the bottle was already accelerating violently in my direction. It hit my elbow and shattered the bone instantly. I screamed as I fell to the floor in pain. The bottle had shattered on impact too, sending glass shrapnel in all directions. It left puncture wounds and gashes all over the front of my body.
Hence your hospital stay the last 3 days.
Right. And not only was my arm broken, but my flesh was torn to ribbons and I was slowly bleeding out. But then the adrenaline kicked in, and with one functional hand I tried to hit the button on my phone to call 911. The call must have gone through because I heard the operator answer, but then I became dizzy and passed out on the cement floor from blood loss. I assumed the 911 operator got my location and dispatched a team of police and paramedics to help us, because when I woke up I was here in the hospital hooked up to all these stupid cables. The doctor even told me that one of those glass shards somehow lodged itself into the side of my head. It was only centimeters from my brain. After the docs were done filling me in on what happened that night after I passed out, I was immediately questioned by the police. They informed me that I'd been unconscious for the past 3 days. Which reminds me, I'm assuming you're not the police. Who the hell are you?
First, Mrs. Summers, I'd like to thank you for your help today. Allow me to fill in the gaps in your memory. Miss Blake was not the only casualty of your reckless behavior with the poltergeist. It seems that the day your friend was inactive, he had hitched a ride with the investigators. They were found on the side of the building.
Wait, what do you mean? I would have seen that when I got to work that morning.
You wouldn't have seen them. They were stuffed in... Actually, I should spare you the details of their state.
Wait, what about Jamie? You said could have earlier. Where is she?
You mentioned hearing a voice before passing out. Emergency Services has no record of your call. They were called later, for the fire.
The fire?
My leading theory is that Miss Watson entered the building shortly after you, and, in an altercation with the spirits, set fire to the brewery. Some passerby saw the blaze and called 911.
No way. Is she...
She was found in the rubble not too far from you, actually.
Wait, you're telling me I was still in the building?
Which leads me to my second theory. And for your sake, Mr. Summers, I hope I'm wrong. Are you experiencing any localized pain?
Are you kidding? I just got blasted by shards of glass all over my body. I spent 3 days in basically a coma, just to find out all my coworkers are dead. I have external pain all over and a whole damn lot of internal pain.
I know. And I'm sorry. I feel for you, believe me. I'm not talking about that right now. I'm talking about a specific point of sharp burning. It'd be like a hot coal under the skin.
Yeah, actually, a bit on my stomach right here. Wait, what the hell is that?
Damn it! Let the record show that Mr. Summers has an area of actively growing claw marks across his abdomen.
What the hell is happening to me?
You are possessed, Mr. Summers. It left the brewery and attached itself to you when you were unconscious. Now I need you to think. Who could it hurt next? You? Your friends? Your family? Every time you're around someone you care about, it could attempt to kill them right in front of you. So you have a choice to make, and you need to make it now.
What do you mean, a choice?
Either you come with me where you'll be contained and my team and I will attempt to separate you from this POLLY. I can't promise any results, but...
No. No way in hell am I going with some stranger to become a lab rat. You better have a better option than that.
I know it's not ideal, but if you won't come with us, then I want you to think about what I said. About the danger of this thing inside you. Here, take my card. And take these. Goodbye, Mr. Summers. I hope that whatever choice you make, you don't regret it.
Where are you going now? And what are these keys for?
Those keys will get you to the roof.